Hi everybody, we are Amazon Gator. My name is Jack and I'm an undergrad aerospace engineering student.
My name is Jaden Martin. I'm a master's student in aerospace engineering.
My name is William Jones. I'm a master's in electrical and computer engineering.
I'm William Marswell. I'm a master's in aerospace engineering.
My name is Chris. I'm also a master's in aerospace engineering.
I'm Dylan, pursuing a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering.
Maxim, I have a bachelor's in science in computer science.
Now, before we get started about what our project was about, we want to address the worldwide issue that we tried to solve and actually did solve in our project. So across the world, there's a lack of internet connectivity, especially in underserved communities, due to financial issues and also power slash structural issues. Now, the community that we picked for this project is Kenya, and in fact, supporting our claim, over 50% of the urban areas within Kenya have zero internet connectivity, and over 86 of the rural areas have zero internet connectivity. And for the options that they do have, which aren't very reliable, it costs about $12 for anywhere from 4 to 10 megabits per second. But going back to the internet connectivity issues, those options aren't always available due to the power and the lack of actually power. And so our goal here at Amazon Leo was to implement the Amazon Leo ecosystem in an affordable manner for underserved communities.
So Amazon is attempting to solve the problem that Chris just talked about with their satellite communication network that is in low Earth orbit, or LEO. So the reason behind satellite network is that traditional internet access is done through ground-based infrastructure that is both expensive and difficult to implement in rural areas that have deserts, mountains, and dense forests. And that ground infrastructure is not economically justifiable in low populated areas. So, a direct connection to the satellite from the user can solve those issues. Amazon's constellation will consist of about 3,000 satellites when it's completely ready, and they already have over 200 in orbit and more launching on a consistent basis. So the user will connect to Amazon's constellation through one of 3 terminals. The smallest class is the Nano. That gets you 100 megabits per second. And this is perfect for the on-the-go users that would be in an RV or on a boat, camping, for that kind of use. And it's about the size of an iPad mini. The Pro is their middle performance class, and this gets users 400 megabits per second. This is designed for small households, or regular households and small businesses. And then the Ultra is their highest performance tier, and this gets up to 1 gigabit per second and is perfect for large businesses and corporations. And the Ultra is the product that we intend to implement in our minimum viable product.
So throughout this semester, we've interviewed multiple people, and one of the categories of interviews that we had were to different individuals who have either been to Kenya or have had family that lived in Kenya. From those interviews, we were able to understand the level of insufficient and unreliable internet connectivity that they had, and a lot of it was due to the power outages that we mentioned earlier. And these power outages don't only disrupt the internet connectivity, but they also actually disrupt the entire community, whether that's the schools, the jobs, the businesses. The entire community depends on this power, and so without having reliable internet, that just adds to the disruptivity of it. And so the trade-offs for having to overcome these disruptions are to travel for internet access, having to drive or sometimes walk to very far places just to have access to internet, which again isn't reliable and is very expensive. And also they can have multiple different SIM cards, which becomes a hassle for the user. Or some people just don't get the opportunity at all. They completely have lost it because of the inability to access it. Our goal here is to create a very reliable and affordable internet solution.
We have also interviewed some nonprofits like mission clinics and that sort of thing, and their issue with connectivity is that the lack of access to internet makes it very difficult to keep patient records and that sort of information, which would be extremely helpful in their mission of helping out and spreading good and such. And aside from that, we have reached out to several technical experts to ask exactly what problems there are with this and how we can help. And one of the main problems is that reliability is determined by the weakest link in a chain. And as we've talked about, it's really power and infrastructure. The power can go out for many hours a day with no reliability or scheduling, which is extremely bad for business, for, you know, everything really. And because of this power going out and the environmental issues, it's extremely difficult to have full scale infrastructure. So,
So let's talk about our proposed solution or our minimum viable product. So we aim to, solve this issue of this financial constraint on rural communities by installing cell towers in these communities that are going to receive internet directly from the Amazon Leo satellites. And the whole idea of our setup is to have the residents, the clinics, the schools, everyone in the area share the tower's internet via a low-cost subscription. And like we briefly mentioned before, the internet delivery through Amazon Leo satellites is advantageous because it eliminates the need for costly cable and ground infrastructure. So traditional ISPs, like in the United States, they deliver internet through a physical cable. So to deliver internet from point A to point B, they need to have like a cable, usually through like a electric utility pole. And this infrastructure is extremely expensive, and it's definitely not feasible for a rural community to be able to build this and to have this. So, being able to deliver the internet through the satellites completely eliminates this need, and it's going to be relatively inexpensive. And we plan to power the cell tower using solar panels and a battery. So this eliminates the need for an established electric grid, so we don't have to rely on the electrical grid in the rural area, which we kind of don't think they might, have that infrastructure anyways. And moving on, like we mentioned previously, we are focusing on Kenya, and we do realize that Amazon's going to be investing a large amount of money to build these towers, to launch the satellites, so we want to be able to pay back this investment within 5 years. And we got that metric because that is the estimated satellite lifespan. And we plan to have 50 to 200 users per tower, serving them at 10 megabits per second. And just going through a little bit of our cost breakdown, the total cost to install cell towers in Kenya is around 4 billion. The total satellite cost, which includes the cost to launch the satellite and the fraction of the constellation usage that Kenya uses, is going to be around 465 million. So after doing a lot of our calculations, we estimate that we'll have to charge each user $7.45 per user per month in order to meet that payback period. And that is actually below what our research and interviews indicated that they would be willing to pay.
So we're proposing a pilot deployment in the city of Mbita, which is semi-rural. It's located on the coast of Kenya, so they deal a lot with bad weather from the ocean, and they're also have really bad infrastructure in regards to cabling due to where they are located. They have just under 15,000 people that live in this city, and we're estimating about a 20% adoption rate, which is just under 3,000 people. With 200 users per tower, we're going to be deploying about 15 towers at a cost of $80,000 per tower, which would be an investment for Amazon of about $1 million. Like Dylan said, we are charging every person $7.45 per user per month. To measure our effectiveness, we have talked about a lot of these. I really just want to cover the coverage and the deployment time. The current scale is about 2% of the town population that is covered with their current internet capabilities. This is again due to the lack of infrastructure. It takes cabling to deploy this internet, and they don't have that. Ours is 7% of the town population per tower, which is a significant increase from 2%. I also want to talk about the deployment time. For us, it takes about 5 months because we are only building a tower. Current infrastructure takes about 5 to 7 years because they do have to put in all that cabling and those towers. And again, due to the infrastructure and the area, they just can't do that. It's just impossible. And the scalability, again, due to their land arrangement, they have low scalability where we have high because all we are doing is building these towers.
So I want to take you kind of what successful look like for our mission and everything. So it kind of looks different for our 3 different areas, our sponsors, deployers, and end users. Looking at our sponsors, we want to build them a tower that's cost efficient to fund and as well can sustain itself long term in terms of payments. Pretty much make sure it lasts for a long time, which also feeds into the deployers, which we want our tower to be rapidly set up. We want it to be easy to maintain in the long run so that there's really not too much maintenance to carry over for, or at least hard maintenance to carry over for long periods of time, right? And for our end users, that's simply gonna be just access to reliable internet as well as it being an affordable monthly cost for them as well. So we kind of went over our solution. I want to take you through how we're going to deploy this. Phase 1, we want to set up our pilot. We want to set this up in the like the town we said in Bita, which is a small town in Kenya, and we want to test that first, our solution, and see how that goes. Once we deem that it's been successful in that first phase, we'll move on to our phase 2, which will be expanding at the local scale. We kind of want to expand towards villages around the towns, and everything with kind of a standard kit. This would include things as the terminal, Wi-Fi routers, and even the solar panels as well, just to establish a standard kit that we could expand towards other places. Once we do that, we move on to phase 3, which is essentially going to partnership growth. We want to be able to talk to government and NGO fundings to help with pretty much funding these schools and clinics, because they're also going to be a very important piece to actually getting an affordable monthly cost for internet connection, right? Once we do phase 3, phase 4 is essentially just kind of replicating the model all across Kenya and in hopes of actually replicating it across all of Africa as well. Something we've kind of talked about in our phases is somewhere there. We'd also like to make it a little more enticing to actually jump on. So somewhere we would like to implement kind of connecting AW services as well into the subscription as to make it just a more enticing deal for people to get on.
So yes, for the prototype, here is the prototype here. You guys want to take a look? And so from the beginning, top-down approach, we have the internet, and from the internet we have the Amazon gateway, which this is all Amazon's pipeline here, and then we have the Amazon Leo satellite, and this is our solution, the Amazon Ultra with the radio tower and the 5G antenna broadcasting with the solar panel and the battery. And that hits the end users directly, basically, with that entire tower setup, no other infrastructure attached. So yeah, this is the prototype demonstration. So once you connect to the portal, you will see the sign-in page, and you'll sign in normally.
Video.
Yeah. And then this is the dashboard, and these are just screenshots, just in case nothing worked. Continue. This is the live video. Just click it. Perfect. So as you can see, now we're logging in. Once you're logged in, you'll see the portal. You have your browsers on the top. Then you have the AWS ecosystem fully intertwined within the dashboard. And here we have the cloud storage for AWS, for example. And I click through some of these. This is now Prime Video. The Amazon Luna gaming extension. And then we have the ground station itself. So this is where you'll actually control everything for permitted users. And yeah, that's basically, now we can go to the browser, for example, and then you'll see anything that, whatever you want in the browser, and then Amazon.com, because, you know. And yeah, that's basically it for the actual video prototype. And then there is also a live demo, but if anyone wants to try, you can continue. Yes, we have a live demo. You may connect. So first, please use the left QR code. Oh, only 8 people, sorry. I do not have that much bandwidth right now. So only 8 people, okay? And then left to connect to the actual hotspot, and then right, which is the website. Okay, we got one person connected. 2 people connected. All right, we can do like 5 more. All right, so whoever wants to connect, you can go ahead. And then here you have the actual QR code to the website, and then you can continue to this page. Okay, we got 3 people now. Cool, all right. Very secure, admin and password, log in. Yeah. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and take a look. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
And sorry, this demo is only for local, not for anyone remotely. Just to make sure that's clear. Thank you so much.
All right, Rashid, we'd love about 2 minutes of your feedback.
Sorry, I didn't mean to write that line on the thing. Okay, I wrote very good can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, very good presentation. I'll just go through my notes really quick since I only got 2 minutes. Always make sure you do market research on names of products before you choose a name. And I'm not saying you didn't do that, and it's okay if there's other stuff out there that uses the same name. But Gator is actually a very, prominent satellite communications antenna in the market. And I know maybe you were doing a play on University of Florida Gators, which is fine. It's okay to have something that's the same name, but you also need to articulate how you're deconflicting or something like that. Very good job narrowing down to Kenya, because a big problem like this, you'll lose the audience right away if you say, I'm gonna bring this solution to the world, and people are like, no, you're not. Your very first slide was a good bluff, bottom line up front, because again, people usually do a horrible job. Well, I won't say always, but people sometimes get lost in trying to explain too much up front, and your audience is confused on like, wait, what was the basic problem and what's the goal? So you did a very good job with that. I'm not ever too big on PowerPoint format, right? I always say the one thing about slides, I don't care about the art or the color scheme, just let it not be distracting. And I rarely comment on a PowerPoint format, but you did a very good job on it being a clean format. I was never distracted by, hey, there's a million arrows going this way, there's some awesome graphic that shows a wheel with 3 arrows pointing to some process that doesn't make sense. So you did a very good job with your slides, keeping me focused on what you're talking about. You were good at articulating the technology and then the impact it had, right? So this is a satellite communications network that brings connectivity to places where there aren't, but then you talked about some of the rural, I'll say use cases that it was actually helping. I think there was one in the hospital and things like that. Because sometimes there's this so what, right? I've created a special kind of airplane, fine, but like you're not doing it just for an airplane. You're not doing it just for the sake of internet connectivity. When you had that cell tower, so I had a note that said a line diagram of how the cell tower connects to stuff works, but you had it later in this slide. Maybe move that a little earlier, but that was fine. This is kind of a technical nit, but you guys talked about how you looked at a 5-year satellite life. It's technically 7 years, but that doesn't matter, right? You're close there, but you probably need to look more at the fact that this is an overall constellation that creates a network, and the satellites are constantly replenished. But that's not too big of a deal, because you're focused on the right thing, which is there needs to be some time horizon and some assumptions you make in your time horizon to look on an ROI, right? So that's a minor thing, but it was okay. Then I say the way you did your calculations, it seemed fine to me. Your assumptions can never be perfect, but as long as you explain your assumptions and they're within the realm of realism, that's okay. And you guys did a good job on that. The way you showed your pilot deployment explanation, spot on, very, very good. And then you showed that slide that I think it had 4 arrows that showed, pilot and then how you scale up and have partners eventually and all that. Very, very good. I mean, kind of crawl, walk, run. That's usually how things are done in industry in real life. So it was very good. And then Oh, I kind of had a repetitive one that said the prototype diagram was good, maybe move it a little earlier. So I don't know how long it took me to say that, but it was very good presentation. Your communication flow was great. It was easy for me to understand. I saw a lot of good improvement from your halfway mark, or your midterm presentation. That was good too, but needed some improvement, and you guys did it. So I'm impressed. It was good.